Welcome back, Button Club members, to an episode of the Safe Sets podcast. I am one of your hosts, Shadow Fury, and with me is
Ricky Icebeam.
How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. I've been on vacation a little bit this week.
Oh yeah?
So I've been resting it up.
I'm jealous. I've been doing
And you've been doing the opposite?
The opposite of vacation. I've been working hard.
Working hard like some of the players that are looking forward to this weekend. What do we got going on this weekend?
This weekend in Japan, we have EVO Japan.
Yes. How do you feel EVO Japan compared to EVO America? How does it stack up against each other?
So in the past, there was no EVO Japan, right? It was just EVO.
Yeah, do you know when that started?
Not off the top of my head, but maybe in the last 5 years.
I can look it up.
Yeah, sure. And so it was always like EVO in America was like the quote unquote real EVO, and EVO Japan was like a side tournament that happens to be called EVO as well. I assume run by the same groups of people. But over the years, especially after COVID, I feel like now that people can travel freely, people are so excited, and like fighting game players are so excited to go to Japan, that EVO Japan is like something that they really look forward to. And so I feel like now they're getting closer and closer to being equal.
Yeah.
And if we take a look at the attendance numbers to like EVO versus EVO Japan, I think they're getting closer and closer to be the same number, where if you are serious enough about fighting games to go to EVO, it doesn't matter what country it's in for you. If you're from Japan, you'll come to America. If you're from America, you'll go to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're from neither of those countries, you're getting on a plane either way.
Yeah, it's true. And I don't mind that Japan doesn't play second fiddle to America's EVO. I like them being on the same page and being able to celebrate the same thing, just in a very different location with a different feel. Now twice a year instead of once a year.
Yeah, EVO twice a year now, and then plus Capcom Cup, so it's like the big three. And I'm also excited that EVO Japan is becoming on the same footing as EVO America, because I feel like up until maybe this year, if you won EVO Japan, it was like you almost can't say you're an EVO champion. You're an EVO Japan champion. There's like an asterisk next to your championship.
Yeah.
But now that the numbers are pretty much equal, I wouldn't be surprised if from now going forward, you can just say you're an EVO champion. And it doesn't really matter if it's EVO America or EVO Japan.
Because the next question would be like, oh, which one did you win? Well, I won Japan in 2024. So, okay, that's sick. And yeah, no one could ever be like, kind of like when we were doing the pandemic issues that we had EVO Online. And I think another asterisk would have been put towards the, oh yeah, I won EVO Online, one year.
Yeah, and pretty recently, Smug had asked, he's like, I won Street Fighter 4 at EVO, but it was after Street Fighter 5 came out. So, like, does that count? Or it might have been
still relevant.
Either that, or maybe he won Street Fighter 5, but it was after Street Fighter 6 came out. I'm forgetting the timeline now. But that was his question. He's like, can I say I'm an EVO champion, even though I won a game that's not the most relevant game? Mm-hmm. And, like, the answer is yes, but I understand him kind of having the mindset of, like, this kind of an asterisk, because I didn't win the current Street Fighter game. Mm-hmm. And so same kind of analogy goes to like EVO versus EVO Japan until now, I would say. Yeah. There's no asterisk anymore, because winning EVO Japan is as hard, if not harder, than winning EVO.
Yeah. Can you imagine, jet lag plays a big factor in any time you're traveling for vacation, coming home or whatever, let alone being a competitor. Traveling that far, we have Mena RD, who lives in our home
backyard.
state, backyard basically. He's in EVO Japan right now. And he actually posted on Twitter just the other day saying, hey, sorry, I haven't kept you guys really up to date on anything. I've been crazy jet lagged.
Yeah.
So, you always wonder how that affects the competitors going from tournament to tournament, and how strenuous traveling can be on its own, let alone playing these fighting games, right?
Yeah, and I think that if you're a very serious competitor and you're actually going and like expecting to make like top 8 at EVO for your fighting game, that it's actually worth the investment to show up 3-4 days early, get some practice in, like go sightseeing, like get over the jet lag, get some sleep, and then come in fresh.
Yeah.
I remember in years past, like Daigo would show up to America like the day of a tournament and be crazy jet lagged and like still do pretty well.
Of course, he's Daigo.
But if he, if he came in like 4th instead of 1st, like we all expected him to, it was like, oh, I'm jet lagged. I just showed up from Japan today. I haven't slept. But yeah, I feel like if you're serious enough, or if your sponsors are willing to pay for it, you should show up a few days early and get that rest and be ready.
Of course, yeah. Get acclimated. I would have to agree. We have a couple of friends that are out there right now. We've got Hanny, Scion as he's known in the community, and Third Eye. who've all posted videos of them getting slapped on the internet and that muscle mommy bar or whatever it is. Have you seen any of those, right?
So I didn't watch the videos, but I've seen them in the past.
Yeah.
I see what that's about.
Yeah, they ended up getting there a few days early too. And honestly, to go all the way to Japan for a tournament and to not have any extra time. Yeah, I don't care if it's your first time, your 100th time, you probably want to be there and enjoy the spot for a little while.
Yeah, it's definitely a vacation that has you battling it out at EVO as part of the vacation.
Yeah, exactly. So we are recording this on a Friday, so that means tonight, basically, we'll be able to start watching EVO because that'll be Japan's Saturday, right?
Yeah.
They pushed, I think, everything back a day on top of the difference in time.
Okay.
Do you plan on watching any of it closely? You're going to wait till the end? Because they said like all of day one is basically all of the pools. So you'll get a mixed match of different player types.
Yes. I personally have a hard time watching pools on a really big tournament like this because you could watch for an hour and only see like one or two players that you know who they are. And a lot of times, if it's early enough in pools, like you might see Tokido play, but he played against someone you've never heard of and he completely washes them.
Yeah.
And it's not really that interesting to watch. So for like beginning of a large tournament like EVO, I tend to pay attention to which notable players have been eliminated early.
Okay.
And so a good website that I go to for that is actually Event Hub. So Event Hubs does a very good job of updating live the standings. And so they'll note, you know, sometimes with a big tournament like this, they'll have like top, I'm forgetting the math, like top like 128. And so when notable players pop up in there, like they've been eliminated, it's good to see that. It's exciting to watch. And then once we get down to like, you know, top 128 or top 64 or top 32, then I'm locked in. Then I'm watching every match.
Your focus gains the closer they get to the top, right?
Right. But for the beginning stages of the tournament, like you could watch all day long and only see like one or two exciting matches.
I always like looking out for at least people that I might recognize that aren't like the bigger names, but I know them from social media too.
Yep.
I think it was a major from already last year. I want to say CEO or something like that. And it was great to see people like Kevin Tech and Nail Bomb on stream. And like, oh my God, like I know these people. I even took a picture of him, Nail Bomb up on stream. And I was in the shot like, oh, I'm watching you, you know, just because I think that's just so cool. And to see these players test their skills against international players is just really, really awesome.
Yeah, I always get excited when I see somebody I know personally up on stream.
Yeah. And like watching them, even if they lose, you're like, oh, you played so good that you tried your hardest. And, you know, they're at home kicking themselves right now. Like, oh, I should have done this. I could have gotten that.
Have you gotten the opportunity to play on stream at a major yet?
Yeah. When I went to Summer Jam 2 years ago now, I went for Guilty Gear Strive, DNF Duel, Soul Calibur 6, and Street Fighter 5. I went for the gambit. And I thought I was crazy for a second playing that many games. I had so much fun.
Yeah,
I loved it. And then I had my match on stream was for Guilty Gear. Everyone in which was the Platinum City Gaming Discord at the time, were all going off. Yeah, good luck, Ryan. Go get it, this and that. I know Wallaby, shout outs. He had some nice things to say. So when I sit down and I'm going to play my opponent, we do our button checks. And he actually wanted to do like, can we go into the game and button check? Okay, yeah, we can do that. So we do it, but he had picked May, and I play Potemkin. So that is the tortoise versus the hare, 100%, right?
Yep.
I hate that matchup. To this day, I look at Bobby differently every time I see him because of his time with May. And then when he goes back to character select for us to start the actual match, he goes, I'm a man of taste also. And picks Potemkin.
That's so cool.
It was a Potemkin mirror match, and yeah, it was just so much fun. And I was more nervous than I expected to start. But once the game was rolling, I was just locked in and focused. And thankfully, you know, anytime that you've played at a weekly, you know, there's eyes on you. So I'm getting more and more used to that being a thing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. What about yourself?
Yeah, so I've played on stream at 2 different majors. I can't remember which ones they were. They were both early in the Street Fighter 5 days. But the first one I played on stream, I definitely didn't deserve to make it that far in the bracket. There was actually enough DQs that like forced me that far.
Okay.
And I just got completely washed. And the second one, when I was on stream, was more deserved. I made it further, like actually winning matches instead of just, you know, running into DQs. And that match was insanely close. I thought I won. Like I was winning. I was so close, and I lost, and it was a real heartbreaker.
Do you know who your opponent was or what character they were playing?
I do. It was an Armika player. Now that I'm on the spot, I'm not gonna remember. It was I do know it, but I'm
Yeah,
not
drawing a
remembering on
blank.
the spot. Yeah, yeah. But it was a very strong player, and it was a really great set. But yeah, every couple of years or so, I'll reminisce and go back and rewatch the tape and
Yeah.
be extra salty that I lost.
Or see how much you've grown, right? To be
That
like,
yeah, that
wow.
too. Yeah, and I think about that too. I'm like, oh man, if I was able to play that match like 3 years later, I would have won for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not taking into account all that they might have grown in 3 years, also, right?
That's true too. Yeah, you're fighting a moving target.
Yep, yep. All right, so here we have the start.gg for EVO Japan 2024, and you can see here in this top left-hand corner, almost 6,800 competitors. What an astounding number. I think last year's EVO America was like just over 7,000.
That sounds about right.
So a few hundred less, but it's still an amazing turnout.
Yeah, the number that's kind of surprising to me is that the total number of attendees is about 6,800, and the total number of entrants for Street Fighter 6 is a little over 5,000. So this is like what, like 80% or something like that of Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, wow, that's true. Actually, just for curiosity, I
Yeah,
gotta
what's Tekken?
see.
Because I would say that just looking at the titles on the left hand side, that Street Fighter 6 and Tekken are probably the top two.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see that Tekken 8 being also a new game, getting about a quarter of the entrants.
A newer game. It's of this year, and it's one of the popular top 3 fighting game, IPs of all time. Yeah, I had no idea. And I always thought that there'd be a little bit more crossover, right? People playing Street Fighter. Okay, I'm also gonna play Tekken because I've been enjoying it. But this is definitely, you're a diehard Tekken fan, and I can't believe that number's at that.
Yeah, in your opinion, do you think that like there's obviously less Tekken players? Do you think that there's more Street Fighter players that entered Tekken, or more Tekken players that also entered Street Fighter?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would have to say, from what I know, is mostly from how those games perform with us at Button Club on Monday.
Yep.
The amount of people that play both, I would say, are quite less. This week we had, I think, 10 competitors for Street Fighter, and then like 13 to 15 for Tekken. And there's me, Mike V, one or two others, I think. Street Fighter players might be a little bit more into playing or dabbling into Tekken, but Tekken players are like, no, I don't play that game.
And that's interesting that you say that, because I would assume that like Street Fighter 6 is the simpler game and Tekken 8 is much more complex. I don't play Tekken, so what do I know?
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of proving my own point to be wrong. It's like, well, I guess to be right. It's like I play the simple game. I don't touch the complicated game.
Yeah. Even when I was talking to Flying Rajan last week, I went to his apartment to check it out and hang out, get the vibes, and we started playing Tekken. And I said, "Do you still play Street Fighter?" He said, "No." I go, "Do you miss it?" He goes, "No, not really." I said, "So why have you gravitated so much to Tekken compared to these other games?" He said, although Tekken is looked upon as a more difficult game, and I'm sure previous iterations were, he likes the simplicity of being able to create these combos, these juggles, and
Yep.
even if they're not optimal, he's done it on the fly. It's something that's easy to remember,
Yep.
where Street Fighter's pretty strict as to what
Oh,
combos and what doesn't, and there's no real making that up on the spot, especially in tournament or something,
Yeah, so it sounds like Tekken is a little bit more freestyle, where Street Fighter 6, the rules are a little bit more rigid.
Yeah. And then just for curiosity, I want to see what these other games have.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that list is an order of entrance from most to least,
Yeah, looks like it. 464 for Third Strike.
which makes sense because it's in Japan. If this was in America, there would not be that many.
It'd be like a third of that, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 100.
And then King of Fighters. Damn.
About the same.
That's crazy for a modern day title to have. And I would imagine, I know there's like a meme for King of Fighters is very popular in the Spanish Mexican community, but yeah, I would still think that that would be a bigger number. Oh, I would think it would be so much closer to Grand Blue Fantasy Versus.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see Guilty Gear way at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, well, Under Night came out this year also, I believe,
Well,
right?
this version of Under Night.
That's true.
And I don't play the game, so I don't know it well enough. But because the titles of the games are similar and they like add an extra word every time, I'm assuming it's almost like different seasons of the same title.
Like an update, kind of. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Guilty Gear.
Oh, it has more.
Oh,
That's the only one that's out of order, I think.
yeah, because it has more than Grand Blue, so it really
Should be third.
Yeah, it should be third. Yeah.
I wonder if it was just a total coincidence that the order of the list matched all the way to this one.
Yeah. And I got to give Guilty Gear credit because they're wrapping up season 3, probably going to start season 4.
Hmm.
Kind of like last week's episode of the Safe Sets podcast, we talked a lot about Akuma's reveal, and everyone is saying that this weekend should be jam packed with character reveals and gameplay trailers and news and things like that. I'm really hoping for, I mean, it seems like a 95% possibility that we'll see Akuma, probably the next Tekken character, and even the announcement for season 4 for Guilty Gear and stuff.
Do you remember a couple of years ago for Street Fighter V, there was a trailer for E Honda and it got leaked just before EVO.
Yeah.
And Capcom made the smart decision of admitting, like, yes, the leak is real, and then playing the E Honda trailer all during EVO. And so all the other fighting game devs who saved their reveal for the end didn't get to show it off on the biggest stage. So the leak actually worked in Capcom's favor. And I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if at these big events that they're going to do the reveals, if instead of waiting for the end of the event to do the reveal as like a dessert or like a cherry on top, is if they reveal it at the beginning and then continue showing you the trailers multiple times over the course of the entire weekend. I think that makes more sense.
Kind of just drip feed you the information, because if they show you too much, are you less likely to continue watching until the tournament actually starts? Or like if it's at the end, because previously, it has all usually been at the end, right? Even if it's not the end of the weekend, it's the end of, oh, well, Street Fighter's actually wrapping up on a Saturday today, so we'll get that trailer on Saturday or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think being able to show off your new stuff during the time when your audience is watching is the most valuable thing. I think to save it for the end is like a wasted opportunity. And so I think that obviously if they don't have anything for after the end of the finals, that there'll be like a lot of people watching the finals because they're excited to see who wins.
Mm-hmm.
But having something there definitely holds on more numbers. But I don't know if that number is important. You know what I mean? I'd rather have, I'm making up numbers, 10,000 people at all times seeing the trailer over and over and over again all weekend long than to have a peak viewership of like 25,000 during the finals.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a nice number to see, but it's just one spike. It's like, I had 25,000 people for 10 minutes. I'd rather have all the people who've watched all weekend long see the new stuff.
That makes sense, because then if you wait till the end, the possibility of it happening is just a question. Is it going to happen? Oh, it might not happen. They haven't shown anything yet. Is it going to happen? Where if you show it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so hyped. They actually showed off Akuma's gameplay. Can you come over right now and watch top 8 with me or something? Like, and it really boasts your numbers even more to pay attention and stay tuned, especially if it's going to pop up again kind of organically, right? Like, right. Oh, so-and-so just walked in. Oh, you're just in time. It just came up on the commercial again. Watch it with me.
I think it makes the most sense. It was like a happy accident. It's like, okay, a few years ago, E Honda got leaked. They got to show the trailer all through the weekend, and I think that was good.
And I think it's just going to be great for any type of content creator after this weekend. They're going to have so much, the weekend is so saturated with fighting games, and then that lingers for probably close to another week with everyone else's videos coming out about, oh, what do we think of this? And oh, this is that. My experience at EVO this weekend. And, I love seeing the crowd reactions too, if they're actually there in person and watching the whole stadium kind of go crazy. Yeah.
I'm also excited to see like some of the FGC content creators in the next couple of weeks posting just like regular stuff they experienced in Japan.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
stuff that's not fighting game related necessarily.
I watched a video today of Punk actually just going out to a restaurant with his girlfriend and all the different dishes he got to try and what it was made of. It was like very fine dining, and it had nothing to do with fighting games other than Punk was there, but it was just really, really nice to see him interact with the people in the restaurant and stuff. So this is off of Reddit, and this just basically breaks down what we've talked about already for EVO Japan, but it kind of already goes over here who we expect to see from the different regions.
I wish this list was broken down into different fighting games, because I assume that this is not all just Street Fighter 6.
Actually, it might be, because it's on the Street Fighter Reddit, so maybe it is.
I don't know.
Yeah. So from America, we've got your boy Mena and Punk, which we've talked about already. Nephew. I have no idea who Gino Ross is.
I've seen them play before. I can't pronounce the name.
Yeah.
But I've seen them play before.
Jay Wong, Smug.
You missed Lex.
Lex, my fault, with 2 X's. Smug, Chi. Oh, Zaf.
Zaf's in there. Let's go, Zaf.
So Zaf was... I don't know if it was this tournament, but I think Smug's sponsor floated him a trip to a tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's very cool.
Which is really, really cool. Mono, SD, Pinoy,
Yep.
Cien, I guess, right? Probably Silent H.
Yeah, I'd assume so.
Sonic Fox, Fatality, Jubali, No Good Citizen.
Now, why is Jabali on this list? I guess he's notable because people know his name, but I'm not expecting much from Jabali. And then seeing Sonic Fox on this list makes me believe that this is not just for Street Fighter, because Sonic Fox may be entered in Street Fighter, but it's not their number one game, I'm sure.
Oh, that's true, because I think he's playing a lot more Tekken these days, actually. And he's been training a lot. And there's no Mortal Kombat, as we saw.
Right.
I also thought it was an odd that there was 7 games for EVO Japan.
Oh, like rather than like an even number of like 8 or so?
Yeah, yeah.
What else would they run besides like an older game like Street Fighter 2 or I don't know?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Because even when it comes to EVO America, we get games like Mortal Kombat, which you're not going to get in Japan. What else would be on there? They'd probably go back to, like you said, a retro game, right?
Yeah, but at EVO, there's like, I forget exactly how many, maybe like 8 or 10 main games, and then there's a bunch of side games.
Yeah.
And so this might just be all the main games.
That's true.
I'm sure there will be like a side Street Fighter 2 tournament that probably will have like less than 100 players.
Well, actually, went to EVO's actual website for EVO Japan, and they show a lot of the side tournament stuff. 7 games that we talked about. Candy Cab's there.
Nice.
When's the last time you've been to a major?
That's a good question. I think before COVID.
Wow.
There's a lot of things that like I feel like I did it like last year or the year before. I'm like, oh no, that's like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been to Balance Patch since COVID.
Oh my god.
And so it's been like 5 years.
Oh my god. Do you have any interest in going back though?
I do. It's so exhausting to work all week and then drive like an hour and a half to Boston on a Friday night. And even when I was going, there was a time where I would go every week, and I was torn because I was like, I really want to go. I really want to be there. But when I get there, I'm so tired. I play like crap.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I would go and just commentate and not even play because I knew like I wasn't going to be able to play at my best.
And then why like spend that time, right? Traveling.
Right. I'm traveling that far and then I'm basically working.
Yeah.
Which is fun. I enjoy commentary.
Not the real reason why you're there.
Yeah. And not the real reason I go to Street Fighter events. Like it would be fun for me to commentate an event or like commentate at a major, but like I really want to go and compete.
So here's all the different pools that you get to take a look at.
Yeah, so there's over 5,000 entrants for Street Fighter 6, which means there's 512 pools. And the part of that, like that's an amazing number of pools. But what's really interesting to me is it seems like each pool has 10 players. Yeah. Which, if you don't know anything about running brackets, 10 is a really odd, awkward number to run. You would either run around like 8 or 16. Those are like the perfect numbers so that you don't have buys. And so with this many players and having this many pools, in hindsight, I wish each pool was 16 players. And so I don't know if we know at this point how many make it out of each pool. Oh, it says right there, 3 per pool to round 2.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
So it's 3 out of 10, so you have roughly a 30% chance to make it out. But I would rather see 16 player pools and 4 make it out.
So if 3 make it out, and you might not know the answer to this, but how many does that make for winners and losers side? Is that 2 for losers, 1 on winners?
I think it would be 2 on winners, 1 on losers, but you could be right. They could play out that match and have one person win the pool, and then they just don't run losers finals.
Yeah. Because, losers pool always ends up just fattening up more so than the winner side. So
yeah, and now that I think about it, I think that makes more sense to have 1 on winner side and 2 on loser side, because running that one last match makes it so much faster on the next round. Okay. So many less matches.
Okay. And then what's cool about start.gg is we can go and just take a look at every single pool. It's all on here. So even if you're a competitor, you get to kind of get a heads up as to who you might be looking at for the beginning. And then I also didn't know that there's a projected.
Yeah, there's a projected. I don't know exactly how it figures it out. So like if you look at this screen, it's literally saying whoever's on top is going to win.
Oh, yeah. Huh?
So I think that on Start GG, if the person who's in the tournament has a Start GG account, they almost have like a shadow ranking.
Yeah.
So that like if Punk is in a pool, that he is assumed to win. But I think that if the players don't have a Start GG account, like we're seeing here, then it just assumes player A is always going to beat player B.
Oh, okay. I was going through some of this earlier. I think there was a bracket with Justin Wong and Ryan Hart in the same pool.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I'm not seeing any names that I really...
Well, there's 512 of these, so
Yeah,
you're going to be scrolling for a long time.
I feel like it was earlier, or maybe I was watching someone else talk about it. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, the other thing that we have no clue of just yet is like, I don't know if these are finalized pools.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, everything could stand to change, being that the tournament will be running tonight for us.
And that's another good tip for people who are going to majors is like, especially if you're going to a major that's much smaller than EVO, you want to not trust the pools until like the day of, and then like find out, because I've had it happen before. I had like a 4 p.m. pool, and then like the day before the pool started, I got switched to an 8 a.m. pool.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like you have to know, constantly be checking and being aware of what time your pool is and everything like that.
Which is a good thing that we'll be going to our major a little bit earlier this year.
Yeah, we'll be going to Defend the North.
That's right. So if you're going to be in the Long Island area for Defend the North in August, we will be there. Come say hello. Let's get some games, right?
Yeah. Let's play.
What else should we look at up here?
So we talked about the many pools that there are for Street Fighter 6. On the Reddit page, does it show the schedule at the bottom? Yeah, so this is the stream schedule. And so this is our time. Yeah, EST. Yep. So tonight, 9 p.m. So almost now.
Oh, okay, cool.
At the time of the recording.
Yeah.
So from 9 p.m. until 1:30 a.m. tonight, and then tomorrow, Saturday, from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m.
So what we were planning on doing, and I know it's hard for you to make it out on Sundays and stuff, but we are going to be running a living room locals session this Sunday.
Okay.
And it'd be great to, we're going to have people over and casual games and watching some of EVO Japan and all that's going on too.
It's really, obviously it's not for the American schedule, but for top 6 to be Monday at 5 a.m. means none of us get to see it live.
Yeah, that hurts.
We'll all be sleeping or at work.
Yeah, I'm a night owl, and I still can't make that time. I can't get invested at anything at 5 a.m. I'll be junked for the next day of work.
Yeah, I think the only Americans who will be able to watch that is like people who take the Monday off of work and go to bed real early to wake up in time for that.
Even part of me was like, man, maybe next year I should plan some time off for EVO so that I can just watch it without any interruption,
Yeah, but the other tough thing about watching big majors like this live is there's usually lots of breaks in between the matches.
That's true.
And so sometimes I actually prefer to like not watch the top 8 or watch the top 16 live, and like the next day or the day after or the following weekend, I'll watch them on YouTube, and there's like, obviously there's YouTube ads, but there's not like 18-minute breaks in between the sets.
Or like the break is coming to a close, you're like, oh, there's only 2 more minutes, I can hack that out. And then it's 0 for a while. You're waiting for it to come on. And then they just add 5 minutes out of nowhere, an extra 5-minute delay on the match is returning.
Right, and then it does return, but it's the commentators talking for 10 minutes, and then they go to an ad. It's like, come on.
You can skip all that, get right to the juicy parts there. I guess the another thing to talk about would be your projection for who do you plan to see in the top 8 with some of these names that you know from all over here.
Well, so Street Fighter 6 is still a pretty new game, and I don't believe that we really know how to play it yet, and that includes the pros. And so similar to Capcom Cup being won by not an unknown player, but it was unknown to me. It wasn't Tokido, it wasn't Punk, it wasn't Daigo. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 1 to 4 players in top 8 that are not who we expect.
Yeah.
So basically I'm saying expect the unexpected.
Yeah, that's true.
But for players that we do know and that we've seen play consistently, Mena RD, absolutely a favorite to make top 8. Punk as well. Punk plays Cammy in this game. I think Cammy is extremely strong, but in the right hands.
Yeah.
And I can't think of more capable hands than Punk's, especially for that style of character, whiff punishing and hit and run and just really being in control of the character and playing really strong neutral. I think there's just so many players. So I'm only going to name two, Menardi and Punk.
Okay.
Which ironically are the top two on this list. But I really do think that they have a very good shot at making it to top 8. And I think there'll be like 1 to 4 players that we would have never guessed would have made it.
I just saw this. KOG is going to be there. King of Grapplers. I haven't seen that name like in a while, I feel like.
It's funny that KOG stands for, you say King of Grapplers?
Yeah.
Do you know what MOV stands for?
No.
It's Master of Vampires.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Funny you mentioning Punk. I saw an interview with him recently, and he was saying how strong Cammy is. Yes, she's very strong, but he doesn't think that she is as strong as she's been in the past. She doesn't dominate, but she is in a great place, and he feels that she only has 2 bad matchups out of the cast so far, and it's not even an unwinnable matchup. So he thinks that she's in a really good place without being overtuned. I know he's had great success in Street Fighter V and still Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think his results have fluctuated the most in Street Fighter 6 than Street Fighter 5. So I am interested in seeing how well he can do for EVO Japan. I do expect Mena RD to be at the top. And then the rest of these names don't really ring too hard. But these two from Europe, Ending Walker and Problem X,
very, very strong players.
I could see them doing really, really good out there also.
Yeah, for me with Problem X, it really just depends on which character he chooses, because I feel like Problem X has to love a character and lock into that character and really put in the work. And then when you see him, come out from the shadows with that character, playing him at the highest level, then he's very scary. But if he's switching characters constantly, or if he's playing a character that's just not right for him, I feel like he doesn't get the results that show what a strong player he is. And in Street Fighter V, obviously he played multiple characters, but his M. Bison was second to
top.
none.
Yeah,
it was the best Bison, period.
Yeah. And you know who he's playing now, right?
Who's he playing?
He's playing Blanca.
Oh, that's a good call. Blanca strong.
Yeah, Blanca strong. Back to a charge style character and a lot of crazy, gimmick side switching shenanigans and stuff. And then as far as the rest of these names, I kind of agree with you. I feel like we will see some names that we've never or haven't heard of mostly, but
right, or haven't heard from in a long time.
Yeah,
like maybe some Street Fighter 4 strong players that didn't love 5 and didn't put in the work, or put in the work but silently stayed at home and didn't pay to go to a big tournament like EVO.
I see Kakaru over here, Boichi, Riketsu.
Yeah, I'd also be interested to see if there's any surprise characters in the top 8. Like if we see a Lily or...
Lily. Can you imagine? I mean, maybe.
Or a Ryu. Like, Ryu's not that bad in this game,
No.
but he's not top... he's not in the top half. I would say he's mid-tier or lower.
Mid-tier or lower, yeah.
Well, we'll have to double check what I put
Yeah, I
on
know.
the tier list,
I can never remember. All I know is that we get roasted every time we see Tomato at our weeklies, and he's like, "Oh, worst character in the game, Ricky certified."
I stand by that. Jamie sucks, and Jamie just got buffed in meaningful ways. Buffed right to the bottom of the tier list. He's so much better than he used to be.
He's actually just made it to the tier list now,
yeah.
right?
He's on. Yeah, maybe he now deserves to be on the same level as another character.
Oh my god. So yeah, I think all those names have the potential to do really, really well. And then I'm interested in seeing who's going to be doing the commentating. Any other surprises you think we're going to see when it comes to EVO Japan?
So we talked a little bit about potentially seeing an Akuma trailer or for like a gameplay trailer, and I think that would be really exciting. I think we're going to see something. I can't imagine that Capcom isn't going to give us anything new. Like, I could understand if they don't give us an Akuma gameplay trailer, but they got to give us something.
Yeah. Even like a tease of season 2, you mean? Or
yeah, they need to show us. I mean, they can't just keep their mouth shut and run EVO Japan and say nothing.
Yeah.
I feel like, at least recently, the last few months has been pretty quiet from them. And so I feel like now is the time to kind of break the silence, let us know what's going on. Like, whether you can tell us what it is, meaning can you show us the Akuma trailer, or can you at least tell us when to expect one?
Yeah.
Tell us when Akuma is releasing. Like, give us a date.
Would you be disappointed if there was no Akuma trailer or speaking of for the weekend? Like, I feel like there's no way we can't hear something. But how disappointed do you think you'd be if you're like, where's the information?
I would be upset, and I would be slightly less upset if they were upfront about it. If they came up and said, "Hey, there's going to be no trailers this weekend. There's going to be no new announcements. Please enjoy the gameplay." If they were upfront and honest, I'd be more fine with it. I'd be more understanding. But if they just don't tell us if they're going to tell us something or not, and then string us along and then don't give us anything. It's like we've seen this in Street Fighter V. We really hate it.
Yeah, and I feel like they did that at a recent major. They were like, "Hey, just to give you a heads up, there's not going to be anything special here, so enjoy the gameplay," and that was appreciated by the community.
Yeah, that was better. That was a step in the right direction. It's like if you're being honest at all times and communicating, then it doesn't matter as much what you're communicating. You can give us bad news, but let us know what it is.
Yeah. And did you see the real life battle hub that they were holding in Japan?
No, I didn't see that.
And they basically had.
Oh, I did see that. It was outside, right?
Was it outside? I'm not sure.
Okay, but I think I did see that.
And they had Akuma there available to play for the weekend.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So I feel like that also is another nudge to, yeah, you're going to see something soon, because if he's ready to be playable at an event, there's no way that he's not releasing soon. And the same thing happened with Capcom Cup and Ed. They were all able to play it there, and then shortly after he was released.
I'm surprised that if Akuma was playable, that there's no leaked footage.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. They showed today on Twitter a 3D model rendering, kind of like a versus screen with, his hands coming out and the splatter.
Was that from Capcom? Or is it like a leak?
I don't think I saw it through Capcom. I think someone else shared it, but someone mentioned that there was a LPN, I'm pretty sure. It said he leaked the music for Akuma.
Oh, interesting.
And that sounded awesome.
Did it?
Yeah.
I have to listen to that.
Yeah, it actually had like a good dark but upbeat feel to it.
Yeah, it's interesting because every character in Street Fighter 6 has a brand new song. And so I remember when they were first like announcing the music for different characters, I was like kind of thrown off. I was like, this song doesn't remind me of that character, but now it does.
Yeah, now it does.
Like now I hear like the Ryu theme or the Guile theme or like the Zangief theme.
Yeah.
Like hearing the song makes me think of that character.
Mm-hmm.
And so Akuma, alongside characters like Guile who have a very notorious theme song, it'll be interesting to hear what they came up with as something new for that character.
Yeah, and like, how does it resonate, with you? Do you hear that and then automatically think of the character? One of the ones that stands out to me is JP's song, because it is so dark and menacing. It has that superior feel to it, and they played the absolute living hell out of that.
They did
during the Capcom Cup.
and I think it also helps that he's a new character. So like that's the only song you've ever associated with that character.
That's true.
Where like Ryu and Guile and like all these characters that we've seen since Street Fighter 2, it's like different versions of the same song over the years.
Yeah.
And this is the first time they have a brand new song.
I played Street Fighter 4 a couple of days ago just for fun, and it's something that we're running at Button Club for the month, and heard Guile's version of his song in that game. And I really like it. And then I listened to a few more and was so inspired by the different Guile themes that are out there, different iterations, and I was like, oh, I have to play it now. And then I just let YouTube play a bunch of different Guile songs, one right after another, while I was in training mode working on something, because that music is just, like you said, it really, and you see it in your brain right away when you hear that music.
So I think I have an idea for the next video.
Okay.
Street Fighter character song tier list.
Okay. All right. I like that.
And I think Guile's theme is going to be instant S tier.
Oh, yeah. So many come to mind. We won't spoil that, but yeah, stick around to next week's episode. That's definitely a great idea.
Can we compare the EVO numbers between EVO Japan and EVO US over the years?
Absolutely.
Because I was saying in the beginning of the episode that the numbers are close to equal now and they used to not be. I want to make sure that that's true.
Surpassing the record of 5,000 or 5,100 previously held by Street Fighter V's debut. Oh, wow.
So it's interesting that, and it kind of makes sense. It's like a fighting game will spike in entrance the first year it's out and the last year it's out.
Yeah. Everyone else trying to get it in. EVO 2023 will see 9,000 unique players, 81.8% increase from the previous year.
But that's also to take with a grain of salt because 2022 is like right after the pandemic.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people not comfortable going to a big event like that.
That's true. So this is all, this is last year's information, but there is some value to what's seen here. That many players played in both, I guess, right?
Yeah.
1853 did Street Fighter 6 and Guilty Gear Strive, which would that have the biggest crossover? It looks like it does, right?
Yeah, I assume they put it in that order.
Maybe just 2D games, so it keeps it really similar.
Yeah, and I heard a lot of people saying when Strive came out, when Street Fighter V was still out, like, oh, Strive is like the closest thing to Street Fighter there is right now.
Yeah, when that game took off, I had never even played a Guilty Gear before, and I was like, I'm playing this game. I'm going full steam ahead on it, just because that was a perfect time that it was released post pandemic.
Right, it was late in the Street Fighter V's lifespan, so people were kind of bored of it already.
Yeah, and it had for its time, it definitely had better online than Street Fighter V anyway.
Yeah, and I think for a player like you that didn't play previous Guilty Gears, you weren't comparing it to the previous Guilty Gears, so you were free to enjoy it. Where I feel like a lot of Guilty Gear players were torn about Strive because it was so different from previous iterations.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing with getting into Tekken right now. There's so much legacy that those older players will say is lost. Well, I was playing it the other night with Jared, and I was like, I'm having so much fun playing this game right now.
Yeah, it's like, forget what these old heads are saying.
Yeah, like the game's fun.
If the game's fun, the game's good. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fact.
You can say, oh, you're a noob, it's your first one, blah, blah, blah. And it's the first time I've taken Tekken seriously in a competitive way. Tekken 1 through 3, that was all I played on the PlayStation for the longest time. So
just button mashing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, this is perfect.
Oh yeah, because I was gonna say it skipped a couple of years, but that was all COVID, so there was no EVOs during those years, I assume. So yeah, so 2018, Dragon Ball FighterZ was the most played game. That's surprising.
Yeah,
even more so than Street Fighter V.
Yeah, it just.
But I think that was like season 3 of Street Fighter V when Abigail was running rampant and people were not happy.
Yeah, is that like right when Arcade Edition was talked about? Also, I think everyone was awaiting the release of Sakura and Blanca. And
so
stuff.
That was Arcade Edition.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. All right. Yeah. So yeah, it was in a weird space. This is like right before it kind of.
They fixed it.
Yeah. And then Dragon Ball was just so hype for so long.
Yeah, until they ruined it. So Street Fighter and Dragon Ball did the opposite. Dragon Ball had a great game, they ruined it. Street Fighter V had an awful game and they fixed it. Tekken 7's been consistent the whole time it's been out.
Yeah, because even from 2018 to 2017, it actually gained more entrants, which is really, really good.
And so it's interesting to see like the Tekken 7 numbers are looking kind of similar to what Tekken 8 is looking like now.
That's true. Yeah. Well, so from 2018 it was 1,500. Bear with me here for a second.
Yeah, 1247. It's similar.
Yeah.
Between 1 and 2,000, and then Street Fighter went through the roof. It basically doubled because in 2018 it's showing about 2,500, and now it's over 5,000.
That's insane. And, like on our weeklies, Tekken is the bigger game compared to Street Fighter. I really do wish they were closer. I don't care if Tekken wins every week, but I kind of wish we were neck and neck. But when it comes to the VODs up on our YouTube channel, Street Fighter will get more views quicker lately than the Tekken one.
That's interesting. But I'm glad that Tekken's doing well, especially in the local scene, because from the last number of years that I've been playing Street Fighter competitively, what I've seen at most of the locals that I go to, Street Fighter's the main game, and then a new fighting game title will come out, like a Tekken or a Grand Blue or something, and people will be really excited for like a month, and then it just dies completely. And then what ends up happening is, like, if you have 3 or 4 players, basically just enough to run casuals and not really run a bracket, then those 3 or 4 players stop showing up because they know there's not going to be a bracket, and now you have 0. So if one of the 2 games had to have more entrants, I would hope that it's Tekken 8, because Street Fighter has shown the test of time. Whether there's 4 players or 10 players, they're going to be there every week. But the game that isn't Street Fighter at the local, from my experience, is the one that needs the numbers to stay alive.
Okay. I think too, a lot of new players came in. With every game, they're going to get new players, obviously. But I think Tekken 8 has brought in like the biggest handful of new players or first timers to a weekly tournament series. I'm always really proud of those players and how well they're doing. That the community is strong. So
yeah, and I was kind of surprised that Street Fighter 6 didn't bring in as many new players as I thought that it would, especially with the modern controls. Like just last week, I'm forgetting his name, but we had a brand new player come in who was like, "Oh, I've only played for like 2 days."
Yeah, ADHD, I think his name was.
His gamer tag, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him, and I said, I appreciate that you're so new and that you're using the modern controls. I was like, that's like a shortcut to getting good. Because if you don't have to worry about execution, you can learn everything else about the game first, much faster. And then if you choose to, you can go and learn the classic controls and learn how to execute all the special moves. But if it's like your first week playing and you don't have experience doing special moves in fighting games from the past, go ahead and pick modern controls.
100%,
If you're trying to have fun and or get good, which is kind of like the two things I imagine that a player wants to do, or both,
Yeah.
modern controls really gives you all those things.
Yeah, it's there for you to use. That what can sometimes be the most intimidating thing about the fighting game is what I find the most fun. 'Cause I always loved the execution of getting those special moves, and you press a button so simply, but to do the motion, you're like, yes, I nailed it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the opposite with Smash, right? Like Smash basically always has modern controls because like one button special moves. You need to press a direction and a button to do a smash attack. And then when they released the Street Fighter characters in Smash, when you actually have to do the inputs.
Yeah. And I remember that was like a meme for a while too, where it being like, what is a Shoto? Because it was the introduction into Smash. I think what Smash players are really good at when they come to other fighting games, though, is movement.
And reactions.
And like how they see the game, I feel is just so different than someone who's been playing a lot of these other 2D, 3D fighters for a while.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed with Smash players, when they first pick up a different game, like a Street Fighter game, they tend to do too much. Where in Street Fighter, it's kind of like plan A is like do nothing and like wait for a mistake, wait for an opening, and then, counter that. And in Smash, at least from the outside looking in, because I don't play competitive Smash, I play it casually, it's that you're more free to do stuff because everything's so quick and so safe that it's like you can just get away with doing a lot of low risk, low reward options. Where in Street Fighter, every movement is potentially death.
Yeah.
Everything's high stakes.
So not bad for the numbers comparison, I'd say, right?
Yeah, and then like, what was the total number of entrants for this year for EVO Japan? So like 7,000, and then if you go back to the previous years, so it's been more overall.
That might include like non-competitors also, maybe,
or maybe that just means all the games added together.
Okay.
So if someone's playing Street Fighter and Tekken, it counts as two.
Yeah.
So that could be the reason why the numbers are so high. And then also Smash. Like Smash alone on that in 2018 accounts for almost 3,000 players. And what's interesting is that the number of Smash players for Wii U and Melee is almost the exact same number. So you got to assume there's like 90% crossover.
Yeah. Not much of a divide there outside of the game title.
I'm sure there are players who play one and not the other, but I mean, it can't be a coincidence that there's almost the exact same number of players.
Yeah. And then even looking at, Street Fighter 5 year 1, 2016 was its release date. So to have 5,100, we're kind of on par with today's standards. So it just goes to show you, because this is the first EVO Japan for Street Fighter 6, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because it came out in June. Then we had EVO America right afterwards, Rashid. And now here we are for the first Street Fighter 6 EVO Japan.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like I feel like the fighting game community has grown over the years. And so I feel like if you compare numbers today to like 10 years ago, it's kind of not fair. Like there's so many more players now than there used to be. So it would make sense if the numbers now are greater than they used to be.
Yeah, because anytime there's a new game released, the amount of people playing it spurred up, and this is now someone's new first time playing fighting games. And even in that video I was watching with Punk earlier, he did some training real quick at a venue and then was talking to someone that comes from like the first person community who is now competing in Street Fighter 6. This is their first fighting game. They're learning so much. So I know you get a lot of that also when these new games come out.
Yeah, I think being competitive in anything helps you when you try a new competitive thing. And so playing a different competitive video game, even if it's like Fortnite, and then coming over to Street Fighter, it's like you already understand some of the things. You already understand like how hard it's going to be in the beginning, and you don't get necessarily as discouraged, and you're able to persevere a little bit. But when you've never done something competitive before, it's your first time doing it, there's like so many more hurdles to go through.
Of course, even just tournament etiquette and learning what that is, and how to hold yourself in that space.
Right, or even just like, and it sounds funny that I'm saying this, the fact that you have to practice to get better. Some people don't really get that until they get their butt kicked a number of times over multiple years until they're like, oh, I've been playing this game for 3 years, but I only practice for like 2 hours a week, and I'm getting my butt kicked because the people I'm competing against are playing like 30 hours a week, if not more.
I watched a video today about people getting caught cheating while playing certain like CS:GO and Modern Warfare games. And I've also seen other videos about people talking about players in Street Fighter in ranked cheating.
Oh, the rank cheaters.
Yeah, instant jumps for fireballs and drive impact and parry reactions. The computer's handling that. But they showed some of these bigger tournaments. One was in Japan. It was like I think $500,000 prize, and they caught someone cheating right on the spot.
And it was live, right? It wasn't online.
Yeah. So at one point, the judges go on stage and they force themselves onto the computer to check for these aimbots or whatever else. And of course, they find it. So they eliminate the entire team.
That sucks.
Ban that one player, and you can see the team players' eyes. I feel like from looking at their reaction, they had no idea.
I'm sure they didn't.
They had no idea. They're really looking like, is this really happening right now? Did he really just get found that he was cheating?
Which I'm sure is frustrating on so many levels. Like now their opportunity is lost. Their teammate was cheating, but then also it's like they've been training and practicing so hard, and the dude sitting right next to them is not working as hard.
And costing them a victory that they couldn't even play for, right? They just got eliminated. So then that had me thinking about how in an offline setting for fighting games, that is not an issue
Yet.
So I was thinking, I was like, like how could someone cheat in an offline event on a fighting game? It'd have to be programmed somehow into their controller, right? To instantly drive impact or something like that. And this Monday, I thought it was really funny. You asked to check my SOCD.
Yeah, so your flash kicks have been so good, so quick. And so it was two things. It was that your flash kicks were so good, and you were playing someone prior to us playing, and it looked like you went for a flash kick, and Guile did jump back light kick. And that's typically what happens when you're playing on the old SOCD and don't have your flash kick charge, because you'd be holding down and back, and when you press the up and kick, you get up and back. And so it was the combination of those two things. I was like, I just want to double check and make sure this guy's not cheating on me.
It was funny because when you asked, I'm pretty sure I said like, what? And then you repeated it. And without even thinking, like, why is he asking me this? I just did it and saw it on screen. Because even I was like, you can change this when you plug it in. You have to hold a certain button. But as soon as I got it, I made sure, because I don't want to practice and create bad habits and then find myself in that situation, right? I'm at Defend the North with you, and someone's like, I don't know, you got to check this guy's buttons. And, he's not using the right SOCD. Eliminate him. Ruin my whole flipping weekend. So I'm not interested in that. So, but I just thought it was funny how almost innocently I was like, yeah, what are you talking about? And I did that and looked at you, and then you said that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But it was great that we were in the button check portion, so it could show you right on the screen that it canceled out,
Right.
I just thought that was really funny. And then of course when I'm telling Alicia that afterwards, and I was like, and just innocently I just did it, and she was like, yeah, because you weren't cheating,
No, yeah, and I was hoping that like after the fact you would realize like this wasn't me like necessarily trying to accuse you of cheating. It's like, let me just make sure that he wasn't, didn't realize or didn't know about it, and then also take it as a compliment. Like, I needed to check because you were doing so good.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I took it. It was like, oh, okay. Like, no, I mean, and that realistically should be something that should be asked at a tournament, right?
Yeah.
Hey, can you check your SOCD? Like,
yeah, I think if it's during button check and it's like before the matches even start, I think that would be like total normal etiquette. Just to be on like, hey, you're playing on a hitbox, you're using a charge character. Just so we're on the same page, can you just press the two buttons for me?
My brother does not have the current SOCD on his.
So he's cheating.
So he's
strip him of his victory.
But he doesn't use any shortcuts of any kind.
Which is so wild to me.
It's so wild. And on top of that, when I bought my Victrix leverless, it came in and had the SOCD already on. So I was like, oh, great. I don't even have to change it or worry about it. So I was explaining it to Kevin to tell him why this was a thing. And he was like, I don't get it. I almost don't even know what you're saying. I just know that I do this, and that for DP, and that's it. And then I was trying to show him, well, actually, this is a benefit for you playing Shotos because there's all these other additional shortcuts for DPs, and he was just like, no, I don't even want to think about that because it'll mess me up, basically,
Yeah, and maybe in the short term that's the correct choice for him, but I'm hoping some point along his journey he decides to use the cheating devices to its full potential and use the shortcuts on hitbox, because it's extremely strong, like you're saying, not just for charge characters with flash kick, for Shotos with DPs.
Do you follow Javits on Twitter?
Yep.
He's a big tech guy, and he was showing shortcuts for supers to, negate the diagonal, because you only need, I'm pretty sure, one diagonal in order to do a super,
Yep.
and then hitting the up button and stuff. So there's so much to do about it. And then I wonder how that's regulated here. So you had the mind to ask me about that SOCD, but is that something that's being regularly checked by the TOs or whatever?
I'd be surprised. I'd be really surprised. I think maybe when you're in like top 64, top 32, top 16, they might do those checks. But with 512 pools, no one's checking anything.
Yeah, how can you
There's no
check
way.
anything, right? And even when it comes to when Daigo had the gaffer box, and that had not only just too many buttons, but it had, I think, last button priority.
Yeah, I forget exactly how it worked, but it was like, yeah, I think you were saying last button priority, so you could hold left and then press right and punch at the same time and get a sonic boom. And then let go and it would read left again.
So like how down and up used to work, basically, but with back and forward.
Exactly. And so now neither of them work, which makes a lot more sense in my opinion.
But Daigo being a high profile player, of course, that was easy to spot, and everyone knew what he was using at the time and how different that looked, where currently there's so many different controllers on the market, all of them with extra buttons. I showed you one before we started the stream.
Yep.
That had R3, L3, an extra jump button and things like that. So I always kind of wonder, at what point do they check it? Did Daigo just happen to be Daigo that day, and they were like, oh yeah, we have to look at that, and then people that you don't know their names or don't do the placings that well just kind of goes overlooked.
Yeah.
One thing to think about. Is there anything else you want to mention for this year's EVO Japan?
I mean, I think we said it all. I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to see how far some of my favorite players go. I'm excited to see how far the players that I don't know who they are go. I'm excited to see Punk and Mena RD and see what they can do and how far they can go. And like I was saying earlier, I think right now Mena is the strongest player in the game, period.
Yeah.
And I think Punk is one of the strongest players, and I think he is by far the strongest Cammy player. I think if you put Cammy on a tier list, you have to put Punk's Cammy one level above.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So if you argue that Cammy is A tier, then Punk's Cammy is S tier. And in Street Fighter V, he was playing an S tier character, so we all know what happens there.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to saturated fighting game hype. I want to see it from all angles. I want to see pop-offs. I want to see upsets. I want to see good sportsmanship on top of all that. And I want the waterfall of information just to splash us all, basically. I hope that every community and sub-community is really happy with the releases or the teasers of the trailers, characters coming, balances. Because I would even love to see like a video that showed balance changes without actually saying anything concrete. Maybe someone gets a new move, or, oh, that used to be, plus, and now I just saw them punish it. That must, I wonder how negative it is now, and stuff like that. So I just want to see the hype, basically.
Yeah, and it would be amazing, like we were saying earlier, if they could show an Akuma gameplay trailer. It would be even more amazing if people at EVO Japan got to put their hands on Akuma, because then we would definitely see videos popping up on Twitter.
Instant tech.
Well, it would be. Remember when Ed was playable, and then people were showing videos of all the other characters and all their changes.
Yeah.
So if they show Akuma or have him playable, someone's going to say, oh, look, here's how they nerfed Luke.
Yeah. Here's the newest build of Street Fighter 6 coming to us.
His crouch heavy punch isn't even a button anymore. Just nothing happens.
Nothing happens. They just took away that button.
They took away all his punches.
Oh, my God. Yeah. It's Kick Fighter for you, son.
Yeah. Kicks only.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Safe Sets podcast. We hope that you have enjoyed. If you did, hit the like button. Let us know what you thought of this video. Comment down below what you're excited about to experience for this weekend for EVO Japan 2024. And if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button. Share with your friends. We are almost at 1,800 subscribers, so we're really looking forward to reaching that milestone. I've been Shadow Fury. He's been
Ricky Icebeam.
And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Keep pressing them buttons and
stay safe.